Welcome to Extremely Valid Points.
We are three business owners and friends who enjoy practical, real-life discussions about business, marketing, and creativity.
Your hosts are Nathan and Jenny Sala, the owners of World Light Media, a digital marketing agency focused on helping organizations grow through online leads.
And Dave Wilkins, the owner of Ellipsis Production Co., a video production company that specializes in creating meaningful content for businesses and nonprofits.
We hope you enjoy today's episode. And along the way, we just might happen to make some extremely valid points.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Extremely Valid Points. We're so glad you joined us today. We're here for a second part of a two-part series with Lawrence Garcia. He is the owner of AmeriGuard Security, along with many other businesses. He's also an inventor and a veteran and a former firefighter and a former ER person. I can't remember what that job title was. But he has an amazing story. We're so delighted to have him here today. Welcome back, Lawrence.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So if you missed part one, go back and check that out because you're going to hear all about AmeriGuard Security. And it was really a great conversation. I thought that you can learn a ton about not only business ownership and some success factors, but there's a lot of other kind of nuggets in there as well. So really good content. And then at the end of last week's episode, I just kind of hinted that we're going to talk about this invention that you created. I said a little bird told me, but full disclosure, it wasn't actually a little bird. Here in the studio, we had what you call a snafu,
A debacle.
where we actually lost the footage. And so here we are re-recording. And that's okay, right? I mean, stuff happens sometimes.
Lawrence is such a gracious guy.
He's great.
I mean,
He's so forgiving.
That's really my point, is Lawrence showed up again to record again instead of saying, forget you people. No, I don't have time for this. So thank you very much, Lawrence. We really appreciate having you back.
Thank you.
And so talk about how you invented something. You're an inventor. And you invented something.
I mean, tell us this story. This is a really cool story.
The story is cool, and it starts like this. It's I had a client of mine, a female client, called me one morning, and she was crying. She says, Lawrence, oh my God, can you please help me? My father's house got broke into last night, and they took all his stuff, and he's all he's all messed up, and she was all messed up, and she just wanted to know what kind of things we can do to help him. And I said, oh well, hey, no problem. I can we can come out there and maybe install an alarm system or something, maybe, and go out there and check out his house and see what vulnerabilities there might be there. And she says. She goes, no, well, he already has an alarm system. She goes, but I don't know if he uses it or anything, so maybe we should go out there and, And she says, I said, well, tell me what happened. She says, well, the problem is my dad is deaf. He can't hear. And I said, oh, well, what can we do for deaf people? I started looking on my suppliers and see what we can do. And I said, oh, we have something, we can give him a strobe light, because that's, I was like, strobe light's not going to do anything for this guy. He can't, maybe if he's awake, he can see the strobe light, but it made me think about, blind people, how would they be alerted?
Right.
So as I'm trying to solution gather for her, I realized that we have a segment of our, community in any town USA that, people that have disabilities and handicaps, and we started just thinking of all the different handicaps and disabilities that are out there that come into play when seconds matter and you need to get out of a house or get to a safe zone. Sometimes seconds even matter. So we just started.
Let me interrupt you for just a second. I want to back up just a second. I'm sorry. Help me understand. This man is deaf, and how did his home got broken into while he was there?
Yeah, that's I'm glad you stopped me because I wanted to cover that piece of it. So he was, it turns out he was asleep in his room, and when he takes his hearing aids out, he puts them on his bed, side of his nightstand, and he can't hear anything. He puts them in, he can hear well. So he's asleep. His nightstand was his hearing was on his nightstand. The people went through his house. They went through his house for hours. They were in his house long enough to even back both of his cars into the garage. Mm-mm. They filled his own cars, with his own stuff. And the part that bothers me the most, and is what I brought to her attention, I said, you know what's most uneasy for me to swallow is the fact that the people that did this either didn't know he was in there, and maybe he was just so quiet they went around him, or maybe they actually did know him. And how bad is that? That might even be worse, that they actually took advantage of this poor old man in that moment. And
so they were in his house for hours.
They think that they're guessing about 4 hours.
Wow.
And had he would have woken up, they could have killed him, could have injured him. And who knows what could have happened, But the fact is, they totally took advantage of this guy, and took his stuff. And since then, he's been all messed up ever since. He has not been able to sleep easy at night. And and she's like, "What can we do, Lawrence?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, the industry doesn't really have anything for this scenario." And over the next couple of weeks, I was trying to find anything I could find within my industry that would help this man. And I came up with something. About 2 weeks later, I called her and I said, "Hey, I think I have a solution. I'd like to try it out on your dad's house." And without getting into the details of how what I call VibraAlert works, VibraAlert ends up being this device that you can put under your mattress, under your pillow. You can put it on. We gave him 3 of them. We gave him one for his bed, his mattress, one for his reclining chair, and we gave him a 3rd one to put anywhere you want, up to and including wear it like one of those "I've fallen and I can't get up" kind of things.
Yeah.
You can even wear this thing. And basically I said, "Hey, let's try this out at your house." And now when the alarm goes off, even that door chime, when somebody opens the door, it vibrates really softly, real quick. And then when the alarm is activated, does it activate this device? It shakes the whole thing. And this thing is so hard to hold on to. It'll almost come out of your hand. It vibrates that much.
So it'll definitely wake you up.
It'll definitely wake you up, 100%. So we said, "Hey, let's try it out." And we stuck it under his mattress. And he went to bed that night. And he said for the first time in maybe 30 years, I can't recall how long he's had this disability, but I think it was like 30 years. He says, "I've slept so well last night." He goes, "It changed my life." My client called me crying to me the following day because she told me she spoke to her dad, and she says, "Lawrence, I sleep every night next to my husband. My kids are down the street, and I didn't even realize, down the hall, and I didn't realize that it was as if I left my dad on a park bench every night for the last 30 years, And she was sobbing. She was like, "I can't believe this. You've actually changed our lives." And I thought, oh my God, it worked as I intended it. It worked maybe even better than I intended it. And I immediately went to go get my patent lawyer, and what we've come up with is a device we call, it's called VibraAlert. VibraAlert also kicked off another invention that goes hand in hand with this one, and it's what I call AutoVent. And so consider this situation in your mind. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter, 10 o'clock at night, doesn't matter the time, but from my firefighting days, I can tell you the first thing that happens in a fire is the house fills with smoke, and as kids, we thought we were told to crawl on your knees and hands out to the door where you can escape. But put that same situation, and now a lot of people don't realize that smoke will kill you before flame.
Yeah, and that's most of what happens when people are
100%. That's the first thing that happens if you can't get the smoke out of the house. And what happens when firemen get to the house? One crew is breaking windows, another crew goes up on the roof and makes a hole in the ceiling to ventilate the smoke out. And what I've come up with is a device that connects to your windows, that talks to your alarm system. So now when if the smoke detector goes off, it alerts the windows. The windows activate a mechanism on the windows that opens the windows. So now the smoke is already starting to vent out.
Wow.
The another advantage this is that by the time the fire department gets there, they're not wasting their time breaking windows and breaking the vents in the ceiling. They can actually go straight into saving people and pulling them out of the house. Another
because
thing,
a firefighter can't go into the house
yeah,
while
it's still the air has not been cleared. You know, they have to have a gas-free engineer has to test the air to make sure no chemicals are going to injure the firemen.
So how long does that usually take? Like if there's somebody inside a burning building, the firefighters show up, the whole building's on fire. From the time they show up, how long does it take before they can go into the building to rescue that person?
So you got the driving time to get there, and then by the time they get there, it's probably about 8 to 10 minutes.
Wow.
You know, but when minutes and seconds count, I mean,
sure.
1 minute could seem like a year, you know. And what this thing does is it shaves off those minutes. It shaves off those minutes and allows our firefighters to get in there and save a life, save a structure, if we still can. But the other thing that's more important that's just as important, I think, as the smoke is, what about carbon monoxide? Now, carbon monoxide is the silent killer. You know, if that enters the house, you won't even know it. You can't see, hear, or smell it. And that will just end up, nobody will just wake up. You know, everybody just stays asleep. And with my auto vent system, our sensors will smell and sense the carbon monoxide and do the same thing. Immediately start ventilating the house, giving you the minutes and the allowable time you need to get the children out of the house and save yourself and the kids.
So it detects smoke or carbon monoxide, and then it opens the windows for you.
100%.
What does that do does that help slow down a fire at all?
No, I mean, if anything, you got to remember, our whole goal is to get us out of the house. The house can be replaced. The house can be rebuilt and that kind of stuff.
But it gets the smoke out of the house.
It gets the smoke and the pollutant out of the house that allows you to be that super mom that you are and get those children out of there and gives those firefighters the amount of time, the best chance to save the structure as well, because they're not dealing with other issues and they can go straight to what the problem really is.
Yeah, because that smoke buildup can happen really fast, right? Like if this happens, fire could catch in some room that nobody's in, right?
You know, people don't understand this. I'm a former firefighter. I could tell you that I've been in scenarios where you can't even see your hand in front of your face.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and smoke happens so fast, and smoke will kill you before flame. You'll die from the smoke inhalation before you burn.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
So, I mean, this is kind of one of those scenarios where you think, like, what really no one's ever thought about, like, how to deal with this, right?
I was blown away when I looked in, as she was calling me to ask me what can we do to help her dad in the scenario I told you about. I was blown away that the industry has not answered this piece of it.
Sure.
And it seems like such an important piece that should have been answered and addressed long before. So, a lot of the inventions that I come up with are because I see a problem and there is not a solution for whatever the scenario is. That's why the inventions I have are all over the place. But this one here has a real chance to save lives. And I always tell people, if this thing saved one life, it was worth it.
Absolutely. I'm sure it will save more than just one.
Yeah, 100%. Because, we started thinking, how many different people have some type of disability to that? And in this moment, by the time we're done with this interview, you will think of at least one or two people in your lives that can utilize something like this. And we're talking our military guys coming back with missing limbs. We're talking about severely handicapped people that might need even like a crane or something to put them in a bed, in a chair to roll them 10 feet to the bathroom. Some of these people that have these handicaps, also the caregiver might even be handicapped themselves.
Oh, right.
Might be an old grandma, might be an old woman by herself, or a man that can't move, his sibling or his or his wife or daughter, whatever. There's so many different people that could utilize every moment that they need to get out of a home, including sometimes even the pets. It's there's a lot of things you got to get out of the house in this type of situation, and saving any seconds of that time to get them out of there is worth it, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So did you always kind of have this inventor entrepreneurial bent, do you think?
I think so. I didn't know what inventions were. As a kid, I was coming up with crazy things. My parents were always like, "Oh my God, this guy's he's pregnant with another idea." It's like,
Yeah.
And it got to the point where my parents were like, "Just go do it." I don't want to hear another one. Go. You've told me 500. Go make one of them work.
That just reminds me of a really funny story, Nathan. I hope you don't mind if I share this.
Oh, crap.
So this guy is a bit of an inventor too. Like, he's just a creative mind. So he told me this story. How old were you when this happened?
I have no
You don't
idea
know
what
what
we're
I'm
going to
gonna
talk about. I'm terrified right now.
Well, I remember him telling me the story about when he was a kid, and he can fill in the blanks here. He got really mad at his parents because he had saved up some money and wanted them to take him to Seattle so he could buy some liquid nitrogen, right?
Right. You know, how you do.
And they wouldn't take him. They wouldn't buy him the liquid nitrogen.
No, they refused. But do you want me to tell you what the
Yes.
invention was?
So you made your own.
Tell Lawrence and see what Lawrence thinks.
Okay, so
From one inventor to another.
I think I was watching, they used to have this show called Mr. Wizard. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah. I know Mr. Wizard.
It was like on PBS or something like that. Maybe Nickelodeon. And it was this old guy who taught kids like science experiments and stuff like that. He did this experiment with liquid nitrogen one day where I think he dipped a flower into the liquid nitrogen, slammed it on the table, and the thing shattered into 1,000,000 pieces because it was completely frozen. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. You can freeze things with this. And so, I put my 10-year-old brain to work, and I didn't even try. It just came out. Like, you could make some sort of like metal squirt gun full of liquid nitrogen. Boom, freeze ray.
Freeze ray.
You have the ability to, squirt liquid nitrogen. So I was like, this is probably the most important idea anybody's ever come up with.
I mean, Lawrence is over here inventing like life-saving things.
Yeah. I mean, pretty soon, if I had been successful, Lawrence would have to think of some way to save the people
From the
that I,
freeze rays.
pretty much I would have been an amputee because
yeah.
I would have froze my hand, it would have shattered, and then I'd be,
Oh my goodness.
this would have been a bad situation.
What do you think, Lawrence?
Well, I love that he was thinking. My biggest thing is that he was thinking at 10 years old. I love that.
Yeah. For
and
sure.
and it's chase that dream. Chase that dream.
Thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah,
Nathan.
sure.
I just
I'm here at
couldn't
your
resist.
expense.
So yeah, I think I always like to explore like how people get where they are, and that whole journey, and how like I feel like for myself, I know when you're young, you think life is going to go a certain way, and it doesn't. It usually doesn't go any way you plan or any way you think it should, but usually it ends up working out pretty good anyway, right? And I see that in your life, like I think you didn't really have it in your sights when you first, became 18 and an adult. Like, it wasn't in your mind, like, I want to own a business.
No.
I want to be an inventor. You just had this heart to serve people, really. That's kind of what I hear between serving in the military, being a firefighter, being a paramedic. You just cared about saving people.
I call it my duty to serve. It's such a cliche word because people say duty to serve, but it's really it's part of it's my whole core of what I do. Not only serving my family and my children, that kind of thing, but my employees, my business. And I want to be in a business that's relevant. I want to be in a business that makes a difference. I want to do things that have impact on people's lives, or even make their lives even better. Going back to the ability to give people peace of mind at night, knowing that they're at least safe and they can take off their armor for the night and then be vulnerable, be in a loving setting, in a caring setting with their loved ones, and then tomorrow wake up, put it back on, and get back out there. And that's important for me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, and in last episode, you talked about how, you had thought at some point maybe you might take over the business, right? Like sooner or later you'd go back to school again and get a business degree. And I think sometimes we think that we feel unqualified to do things, like in order to be a businessman, I need to have a business degree. What do you think about that now?
Well, I'm thankful you bring that up because, when I first was faced with the situation I was in, I didn't, to be a firefighter, I didn't have to have a degree. I didn't have to go to school to become a firefighter, to go to paramedic school, to go to the police academy. And I thought, oh my God, but I do need a degree to run a business. At least that's what I've always been told. Mm-hmm. And then I started realizing that maybe I'll take classes while I'm trying to fill this role. And the business that I was in, I didn't have time to do both. So I soon realized, wait a minute, I actually don't need a degree here. I wouldn't discourage anybody from going to school and the kids out there going to go get a degree. It would never discourage anybody from that. But I really feel like fear to take on a challenge has stopped more dreams than trying.
Yeah.
Attempting,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how I faced this next challenge for me. As I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get this business off the ground and still provide a life for my family and of course my mother who lost my dad. And I said, I'm going to make this work no matter what. I'm going to die trying. And that's just what we've done. So, for anybody that feels like you're not qualified and you don't have what it takes, you need to not feel that way. A mistake, it's a mistake to feel that way. And I would encourage you to chase your dreams, follow your desires, follow your, find what you're good at. Find what you're good at and just push it all the way. Take it to the next level.
Love
That's
it.
great
Lawrence,
advice.
if you could have a conversation with your dad here today, and he was talking to you about where you've come from and how you've grown this business, what do you imagine he would say to you?
I think he would be proud of me.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you've done. I mean, just you never know. Like your dad started this legacy. You with a varied background has grown it, and who knows where it's going to go from here, right? I mean, it's amazing.
We've got a whole a future ahead of ourselves. We are growing in multiple different ways. Maybe I can talk about it here too now. And probably this year we'll be exploring the idea of going IPO. And I never thought I would talk about this kind of stuff because I never knew we were in a situation to even consider this as a route of travel for our business. But we've grown the business to a point now where it's starting to make sense to go public.
Wow.
And we're probably about 3 to 4 months away from actually announcing we're going to be going publicly traded.
Very cool.
And I'm excited about it. And I feel like I'm in uncharted waters because, who can prepare for this kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know we would be at this stage in my business life, but I've surrounded myself with good people. I've surrounded myself with smarter people than myself, and I'm always wanting to learn. Every day I want to learn. Every day I'm trying to improve what we're doing, and it's just time to take it to the next level. And I think we're going to be very successful in doing that.
I think so. I think that's just such great advice for anybody owning a business and facing something, because really every day in business you're facing something that nothing could have prepared you for, except for you're in the role and you have your whole life experience, and that seems to somehow have prepared you for this moment. I don't know why it always just seems to work out that way, but I just love that story. And one question I wanted to ask you was, I imagine there's been so many advancements in technology in your field over the past decade or so. How have you kept up with how fast technology is advancing? And really what I want to know is, how close am I to being able to get a weaponized robot that I can station at my door, so I don't really need to worry about, calling you. I just already have a security robot on the premises. Am I crazy?
Well,
Is this a squirt gun all over again?
no, I know your point, and we are headed that way. I mean, the security in itself continues to change. It's like a computer. You buy a computer today, by next year or 8 months from now, it's already being obsolete. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Security and the technology is no different. I mean, the biggest change we have right now is drones. Mm-hmm. I also own a drone business called Air Vision Industries, and we have now incorporated drones into our patrol and security needs that we have. I have the high-speed rail contract. I've had it for about 8 years, and as the train continues to grow outward of Fresno, they have a need for us to patrol certain areas, and the patrolling area keeps getting bigger and bigger and harder to get to.
Sure.
And so we presented them with drones to allow us to patrol and check on some of the things that they want, and now that's become part of what we do. We provide that type of service.
Very cool.
That's amazing. Do they actually have like night vision too, or some sort of ability to see?
FLIR. They have FLIR.
Okay.
And mine doesn't have night vision. We mainly do this stuff during the day, but the night vision capabilities that are already existing in the cameras are pretty amazing. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than people would think. The cameras on these drones are incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, but drones and robots, that kind of stuff, it's here. It's going to be here, and it's going to get worse. This year at CSE in Vegas, there was several booths that had robot type of security.
Wow.
Yeah. And like the malls, shopping malls have also, mostly in other countries like Germany and Japan, they're starting to roll out robots that look like R2D2 type of things. But it's going to be awesome. We're going to be buying that kind of stuff at some point.
Yeah,
very cool.
RoboCop.
Yeah.
It's what I dreamed of as a kid every time I watched the Jetsons.
Yeah, right.
How cool, the Jetsons.
Well, Lawrence, it's been such a pleasure having you on our podcast. I just, as a person, just really admire you, and
thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here. Thanks so much for coming.
That's very nice. You guys are wonderful. I like what you guys are doing, and thank you for making me feel comfortable. And it's not a lot of pressure here. It feels like a conversation with friends, and that's really helpful. Thank you. Good job.
Good.
Our pleasure.
And again, people that want to get in touch with you and find out more about you and your company here, what's the best way to?
Yeah, contact us through our website, AmeriGuardSecurity.com. You can also call us at our office line at 559-271-5984.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on another episode of Extremely Valid Points. And we look forward to catching you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for spending time with us at Extremely Valid Points Podcast. To learn more about this episode, see our show notes at extremelyvalidpoints.com. Be sure and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram at EVP_podcast.
If you need help with your video for your business or nonprofit, connect with Dave at ellipsispro.co.
And if you need help with digital marketing, Nathan and Jenny can be found at worldlightmedia.com.
Or feel free to send us an email at questions@extremelyvalidpoints.com. Thanks again for joining us. See you next time.